Hi, Steve. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Great.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And it's good to have you here, like I said earlier. Thank you so very much for being here. It's amazing. I love it. Okay, Steve, I am so excited to have you on the show for some reasons. All right. Firstly, I believe that in order to move from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, it takes the application of knowledge, insight, information. So, secondly, my audience, all right, I believe there are some things that Steve knows that some of my audience needs to hear you say this stuff, directly from your mouth, in order to experience transformation. I firmly believe that. And thirdly, even I myself, Steve, lately I've been trying to step up my game financially, and seeing your content, it's around this finances stuff and all of that. So I believe that I am one of those folks who will greatly benefit from your insight. So for that reason, Steve, I want us to get started with your introduction, how your journey has been so far, the challenges that you faced, and how you overcame them. And afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Steve, over to you.
So I found that if you focus on investing in high quality companies that have been around a long time, companies that pay dividends to the people that invest in them, and if you also place a percentage that depends pretty much how old you are and how much time you have to develop this income. You still want to put some of your investments into securities that are designed just to pay income, not to produce growth and market value, and bonds, mortgages, things of that nature. So, so I always design portfolios that had at least, for younger people, at least 30% of the portfolio purposed for income, and the rest in equities. As people get older, they want to cut down their exposure to the stock market and have it more in securities that are designed to pay income. So this focus of mine on income production was there right from the very beginning, probably because my father was a developer of real estate. He had rental properties, and what he had was what we call in economics vertical integration, meaning that you own the properties, you insure the people who buy properties from you, you finance their purchases, like you act as their banker, and so on. So he had different streams of income coming in, and I apply that concept to my investing by having two streams of income. A stream of income called the base income. These are the dividends and interest that securities pay regularly. And the second stream of income is to have targeted profit taking, meaning we don't just watch these securities go up in price. We say, okay, we treat it just like it's inventory in a store. Yeah, your local store you go to, the shop, they have a target price. They put a price on that thing you're buying, and that includes their markup, their profit. I do the same thing with stocks and securities I use. I say, okay, if I can get somebody want to walk in my store and give me 5% more than I paid for it, I'm going to take that profit. I'm going to find some other product to put on my shelves. I might even put the same pair of jeans on there again because they sold so quickly, and that's my inventory. So I treat my investment purchases, my investment securities, like they were inventory in my store. And as everyone knows, Walmart or a store like that's not going to get all excited about the value of their inventory going up. They want their sales, their production, their profits to go up, not the value of the inventory. That's how I approach investing. It's totally different than most people do. It's been very successful for me and for most of the people I've worked with over the years.
Oh, just by listening to you speak about this your unique approach, it sounds really interesting and smart. You know, that's a good one. I love that. And I love the fact that you imitated your dad, having diverse streams, incomes. That's a good one. That's a good one. I love that. I love that. So shall we get started with the question, Steve?
Sure,
Oh,
fire away.
okay. So now let us begin first with the difference between growth in market value, and growth in working capital. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, that's a good one. Working capital. When you make an investment, when you anything you buy that you want to, the amount you invested, that's your capital that you're putting to work. Okay. Now, that working capital can produce either growth or income. Okay. It can go up in market value, or it can produce income that you can live on, that you can spend. So working capital really is the amount when you buy a bond, when you buy a stock, when you buy the inventory to put on your shelves in your store, the amount you've paid for it, that's your working capital. The amount you've paid for it is your working capital. The more of that you have, the more income you're eventually going to get, because its job is to produce income or to produce growth. If it grows, you're going to take the profits. Remember I said we got a 5% markup on this inventory. So this inventory has two jobs. It's going to produce income and it's going to produce growth. You can almost think of it as an employee. If you have an employee working for you, you want him to increase your income by whatever he adds to your he sells more product than anybody else. He gets better pay. He gets an income based on what he sells. There's many ways to compensate, but when you have the working capital is doing two things. If it just sits there and produces income, that's okay, right? But then if it goes up in market value and produces you profit, that's okay too. And then you just replace it with another piece of inventory. So that's what working capital is. Market value, on the other hand, you buy something, it sits there on your shelf. And okay, so we have something happens to the manufacturing plant, you can't get it anymore, so it goes up in price. But you don't sell it. It just keeps going up in price. But either nobody wants it or you refuse to sell it. What good is that to you? It doesn't increase your working capital. It doesn't increase your income. It just makes you feel good that you got this piece of this possession here that's worth more than it used to be. Then all of a sudden, we have some upheaval in the marketplace, in the economy, and we go into a recession. All of a sudden, this piece of property you have isn't worth as much anymore. It goes down in price, goes down in price. So you had all that wonderful time when it was up there in a high market value, and all of a sudden all that extra market value is gone. It hasn't benefited you one bit. It paid you the same income it always did, and you didn't take advantage of that profit to add to your working capital. It's like the Monopoly. You ever know the game Monopoly? It's a board game. It's a board game that has been in the United States since I was a child.
Mm.
And what it is, you have this. It's a boardwalk, but so to speak. It's a bunch of property around the
Okay.
board, and each one has its own price and its own rental income that it pays you when people land on that space. And you can buy houses and hotels and put it on that property, and then your rent goes up. You know. So what you really want to do, your objective is to get as many different hotels and houses on as many properties as possible. So every time anybody goes around that board, they step on one of your properties, they pay you rent. When they roll the dice, they land on your property, they pay you rent. So it's the same principle. You want to have money coming in from everything you own. And occasionally, the value goes up and you sell it and take a profit and buy something else. So that's the basic principles that are laid out in my book and on my website too. But that's what you do. You don't fall in. Most people have a problem. They'll buy something and it goes up in price and they fall in love with it. You know, love is only for your partner.
Mm.
You know, not
That's
for
right.
you, not for what's in your business. You know, so I've always set, like I said before, I always set a profit-making target, just like I'm running a store,
Mm.
and that's how you succeed in investing.
Beautiful. Oh man, I've got to clap for you more. I got that. That was awesome, man. I love that. One of the easiest way to impact knowledge is by citing examples, and that's what you've been doing. You're saying this stuff and you're citing examples, so it'll be so easy for the listeners to understand and relate with what you're saying because of the examples you cited. That's a beautiful one. I love
Thank
that.
thank
So
you.
you mentioned your book. I would love us to talk about that. What's the title of your book
Okay.
and what inspired you to write that book?
Well, the title, and I don't know if you can see it over my shoulder here, the book, but it's Retirement Money Secrets. And the secrets are what we've already been talking about, that, you know, inside all of these different securities that we have out there is the opportunity both to make profits from selling them, just like the merchandise in a store, and by having them generate income that you can spend if you need to. Now, the book explains that you should really not spend all your income because you want to reinvest some of it to build your capital, and that builds the income. So the income keeps growing every quarter of the year, every year, and so on. So that's what the book is basically about. How to and there's a lot more to it. You have to watch the quality of what you own. You have to have a way to determine if this is a good investment or not. And then you have to diversify among many different properties, many different pieces of merchandise and so on. And we talked about the income it has to come. And the fourth thing it talks about is the profit taking. Why we take profits, how it compounds the income, because if you can make a 3% profit in 5 days and you can do that regularly, you'll make a lot more than if you just held the thing and it's paying 6%. You multiply the times that you generate this income. So that's the type of stuff that's in the book.
Beautiful.
The final thing that I introduced in the book, and it's new to most people, is the type of security I use.
Mm.
Now, I had a conversation with a person from South Africa recently that called me and wanted to know if I could help him get into this mode of operation. He had read the book, and I said, "Yeah, I can, but there are some places in the world where you really can't get your hands on these closed-end funds. You have to make sure they're available in the marketplace. I don't know. I like I know in Europe there's some restrictions on using closed-end funds. In North America there are not. Overseas in Australia and the British in Britain there are not. I don't know in South Africa and Western Africa what you can do and what you can't do with your investment programs. But there are securities, and these are the oldest fund. Everybody knows about mutual funds, and most people know about ETFs, exchange traded funds. But closed-end funds, a different type of fund. It's more of a trust. They've been around longer than the other types. And the reason that they're particularly good for the type of investing that I do is because of their nature. They're required to give 95% of their earnings to their shareholders. So when you buy stock and this can be a stock that just has bonds in it, just has income securities, the safest securities of all, but whatever income it generates, 95% of it is coming to me as an owner. All the owners share in the 95% of the income. So these aren't really designed to grow in value so much as they are to generate income. And they're perfect for old people like me, not for youngsters like you. But there are literally 100 or more of them that are invested in the stock market. So you can have the presence in the stock market. You can own one of these things. It'll own 200 companies inside of it. So you can be instantly diversified. You can go out and buy 100 shares of one of these closed-end funds, and you'll own a piece of the action in the world economy without the risk of just putting it in one particular security. The same amount of money can buy, in other words, the same amount of money that can buy you 100 shares of Amazon can buy you thousands of shares of 100 different companies. Okay, you don't own it all, but you own a portfolio that does it. And whatever money that portfolio makes, 95% of it is given to the shareholders. Right now, this type of investment is making 9 and 10% in income alone, just the income, whether it goes up in price or down in price. It's paying that kind of.
Amazing.
So it's a different type of security than most people use. And mainly because most professional managers are really only interested in securities that make that market value go up because they get paid based on the market value. They don't get paid based on the income they produce you. So you, as an investor, you have to ask yourself, let's say you've got you sold your business and you got a large sum of money. Do you want this money to pay you 8, 9, 10% a year so that you can do what you want? So you can come visit North America like I came and visited Africa. If you want to do that with your life, or do you just want to watch this thing grow up in value and not give you any income at all, then you have to sell a piece of it each time you want to do something. That's the decision making you have to do. I can buy the same stock market securities as everybody else is excited about in a vehicle, a closed-end fund that's paying me 9%. So I can benefit either way.
That's smart. And actually, I'm new to this stuff. I haven't heard this before. Actually, I haven't. So,
No, I'm sure there are many people that have.
wow, I
There
tell
are
you.
more people who don't know that closed-end funds exist
Hmm.
than know they exist.
Wow.
Believe me.
Wow.
Right here, right next door. If I went to my neighbor, because I don't talk
Yeah.
went over to my neighbor's place and I said, "Hey, how many closed-end funds do you have?" He say, "Huh?" He wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about.
I tell you, it's so good to have you here, Steve. Okay, it has been of a great moment with you on the show, Steve. Inspirational, educating, and it's just amazing. All right. So to bring this to an end, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those ones who would like to reach out to you, maybe you said something that resonated with them, and they want to learn more about what you do, about you, or get your book. How can that be possible?
Well, the book is easy. It's at Amazon. You just key in, you put the title in there, or you could probably put my name in there, and the book will come up. Um, and I do have a website called theincomecoach.net. So it's easy to get to me that way too. And that's if you want to talk to me and get some coaching, that's where you got to go. You got to go there to sign up for the coaching. But I think most people would benefit most from getting their hands on the book and reading it. And then if they need more information, they could get in touch with me. And they could do it themselves. Many people do.
Brilliant. Okay, so what would you love to leave the maybe investors with that are listening to us, like a final thought, advice, or something?
In my experience, if you can wrap your head around the idea of thinking about the income that your portfolio generates, you'll do two things. You'll sort of go to the quality company, because only the best company is going to be able to pay you a dividend or interest regularly. So if you focus on the income, it's going to keep you in the high quality area. And if you use the closed-end fund vehicle to get you started, you'll be diversified. So when we get, an event that rocks the stock market throughout the world, the income is going to keep on coming. And then you'll be in a position to take advantage of the lower prices instead of getting all upset about it. It's a lot easier on your psyche if you own a diversified portfolio than if you just have one critter in the game. It's like having a soccer team and your star gets hurt, instead of having a team that they're all about the same, and they can go on without that one star. It's that type of a feeling, I think.
Mm.
And I don't lose sleep at night. When last week, I don't know if you guys heard, but the New York Stock Exchange went down
Yeah,
thousands of
it did. It
points
did.
just last week.
Terrible.
I was smiling the whole time because all that meant to me is I could buy things that I want cheaper, but
Mm.
my income didn't change. My
Mm.
income didn't change. So that's the thing. That's where you have to get to be. If you can get to be to that mindset, you can live to be an old man like me without having the anxiety about where your income's coming from. How's
Beautiful.
that?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think I would have to host you again. You've got so much incredible insight that I feel like would benefit a whole lot of people, Steve. Amazing. So thank you so very much, Steve. That's gonna be the end of the show. Thank you for coming and thank you for impacting us with these incredible stuffs. It means a whole lot, man. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you.